Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, where wealth strategies and pop culture collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandbergen.
Welcome to our show of Dream Chasers and Wealth Makers. We are thrilled to be back in the studio today with the new episode of the Zandbergen Report. I'm proud to bring in the movers, shakers, and difference makers who are passionate about what they have learned and what you need to know today. And today, how pleased am I to have not just one, not just two, but three attorneys from the wonderful law firm Revolve Law Group. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. Kimberly, you want to go first?
Yes, my name is Kimberly Wright. I am one of the founding partners of Revolve Law Group, and I predominantly am in charge of the appeals and writs division at Revolve.
Okay. Jessica.
I am Jessica Monroe. I am a tax attorney and CPA and one of the other founding members, and I primarily handle all of the tax controversy and transactional work.
I mean, there's controversy with tax?
Just a little.
And Sara?
I am Sara Naheedy, and I am a partner at Revolve, and my specialty is real estate litigation and transactions. I'm a real estate broker as well and own an escrow company, so I handle all things real estate.
Great. So one of my favorite things, or what I was very impressed with, is your tagline, "Our world revolves around you." Very good. Very catchy.
Thank you.
Tell us about that. How did that come about? How did you come up with the name? How did y'all come together?
Yeah.
There's got to be a story here.
There actually is a story. So Jessica and I went to the same law school, and we were both studying abroad in Cambridge, and she happened to be roomed next door to me. So that's how we got to know each other, which I believe it now is 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jessica was living in Los Angeles, but I had moved to Orange County, and I always told her, when you decide to leave LA County and move to Orange County, let's start a law firm. And so she called me up in 2016, and she said, "You're never going to believe this, but I'm moving to Orange County." And I said, "Great. When are we starting the firm?"
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh.
And she really had no choice. I kind of just pulled her by her hair and forced her to do it. And, the name was really important to me. And I didn't want Monroe Wright or Wright Monroe. And that really always felt archaic to me in the practice of law and incredibly egotistical, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. And so we were trying to come up with other words, that could represent what we stood for. And I'll never forget it because I was standing in the bathroom putting on mascara and I was talking to Jessica on the phone, and I said to her, what's the message we want to send to the client? And I answered myself and I said, well, we need the client to know that our world revolves around them.
Yep.
And right then and there, I went, oh my gosh, Revolve Law Group.
Yeah.
And so, our world revolves around you became, our number one guiding principle of who we are as attorneys.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, Danielle, mental note for me to change the name of my firm.
Well, you're not a lawyer, so you don't practice law in an ego state, which unfortunately is predominantly what we see lawyers do.
Yeah.
It's different.
Just trying to get a laugh.
Yeah. I'm feeling bad I said that now.
Sorry.
And I was going for that too. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, the guilt is real. You got me.
Okay, and then somewhere along the line, Sara came in.
So Kimberly and I had gotten to know each other really well through our networking group, and we were asked to lead a discussion panel of interesting and controversial topics that are happening in the present day world. And so through that process, I got to know Kimberly extremely well and found out that we are far more similar than we are dissimilar, and just very similar mindset. And so I told her that, I've been solo, I've been on my own for 8 years. I'm looking to partner with somebody, and I miss the camaraderie and, strategizing and having multiple sets of eyes on a case to understand, how would another attorney approach this. So before, the whole world shut down, before COVID, we had a conversation about it, and we both were interested in exploring that. And then, post-COVID, some opportunities presented themselves, and we decided it was the right time. I was asked to be a group leader in our networking organization, Provisors, and I thought with the visibility that would bring, it would be the perfect time to join Revolve and make it official. So we did that this summer, and it's been pretty incredible so far.
Something that's incredibly important, I think, for me in having met Sara is that what we decided to do in leading this group, especially in attacking really controversial topics and bringing them, making people uncomfortable. It took a lot of support from each other in order to do that. And seeing how Sara showed up in that process and under the stress and the time constraints, I just thought to myself, she's definitely somebody I'd want to co-run a business with. And fortunately, she agreed, and here we are.
Yeah, I think all of our values are similar, and we are all rooted in integrity, doing the right thing for the client at all times, and being very responsive and putting the client first, which unfortunately a lot of attorneys don't subscribe to that mindset.
Yeah. Well, that's a great foundation for really any firm, especially a law firm.
But it's even more difficult because when you have the tagline, "Our world revolves around you," it's a huge burden to carry.
Yeah.
And it's not a situation, and we talk about this a lot, the three of us, where you can phone it in. You have to bring your A game. I never want to see a client post on social media or, a Yelp review or make any statement anywhere, even if it's just to, somebody they know, that we're bullshit.
Yeah.
We have to show up every single day with a high level of presence and responsibility and responsiveness because we're promoting that, to the public.
Right. It's in your name.
Yeah.
All right. So from what you said and what I have checked out in my due diligence, the taxation, civil litigation, and I know you said appeals and writs. What's a writ?
So
I can't be the only one in this audience that doesn't know.
You are not. It's actually a quite simple answer. So when you have a final judgment on the merits, think a trial has concluded.
Okay.
And the judge issues a ruling, which is his judgment, that you appeal. But when you have an issue that has been determined that is not going to dispose of the case entirely, that's where you issue a writ of mandate asking the the Court of Appeal to make, come to a conclusion on an issue. So think like discovery. If there's a dispute in discovery and the judge said, you can't do this, you wouldn't file an appeal, you'd file a writ getting the Court of Appeal to tell the judge they're wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, I'm going to plant a seed now because legal dramas and suspense are like my jam. So you're going to tell me a story. You don't make up the names, but I need a really good story of one of your cases. Okay. So start thinking.
Okay.
All right. Tell me about your asset protection. Are you talking about estate planning or otherwise?
So one of our specialties is when you have somebody who has a high dollar valued asset that they're selling and they're looking to mitigate those taxes, plan appropriately, and along the same lines, we approach things in a holistic way so that what else is in their estate, what else do they own, how can we make sure that they're protected across the board and not exposed.
So from a taxes, not a liability protection. Well, there wouldn't be, I guess, a liability with an asset sale, maybe.
Well, so entity formation could be part of that, but when we see a need that a client has that one of the three of us don't necessarily handle ourselves, we have partners that we work with that we refer to make sure that the client's needs are served in every possible way.
Yeah.
So like real world example, if Jessica gets a client who just has a tax issue, right? They're fighting the IRS for whatever it is. We get really involved with our clients. So our conversations will exceed the bounds of the issue we're working on. And so if that client, she comes to find out that this client has multiple, real estate assets or businesses or things like that that could be attached, whether, it's by the IRS or in a judgment, she will essentially call the two of us and say, what can we do to make sure that this person is protected? It might be using something as simple as creating an estate plan, or it might be something more advanced like the private retirement plan. And so we bring all these partners in to holistically look at the like bird's eye view of what the client has and exceeds really what the issue we're really working on.
Sure. So again, you go back to holistic.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's great. So, I mean, I don't think there's any conversation in business that we can not talk about how has things changed, with COVID. And in my opinion, there's pre-COVID and then there's now. And I think my opinion now is going to be for the rest of our lives. We're going to have adjustments and lifestyle that's going to be like that. So what has changed for you all?
So I think that COVID brought to light some of the gaps in our profession. For example, the legal industry is very averse to technology and embracing change. And I think it's an absolute blessing that technology has been embraced in the legal field. I love that I can appear on court via Zoom, via telephone. I a couple weeks ago did a trial entirely in my pajamas from my bed.
That's just crazy.
Nothing is going to beat
down,
that.
just the waist down.
Yeah, so I think that the legal field was way overdue for embracing technology. And I think it's a blessing that our profession is finally seeing the benefits of flexibility and allowing people to either work from home or work at the office or a hybrid model. I think that flexibility is something that has been brought to the table in a significant way that helps everybody perform at their best level.
Do you think that flexibility will continue to be implemented even
Yes.
when
We've
things
seen
get closer to normal?
We've seen big firms embrace this remote work-life balance for their employees, and so many firms are either doing a hybrid where they're allowing people to come in or work from home. And I think that our world is forever changed post-COVID, and I think it's a good thing that employers are realizing that employees need flexibility.
Well, not only just for the law firm itself, but for the clients.
Yeah.
The amount of cost savings to the client it's really dramatic.
Yeah.
No longer are you paying your attorney, anywhere from $300, $400, $500 an hour up to travel to court, sit and wait, be inefficient. And one thing that is really hard for clients to swallow is, well, why am I paying you to travel to the court? Well, if I'm not at my desk working on another matter, I've got to be billing on the case that I'm working on, which includes travel time. Well, travel time is now eradicated. And so I encourage clients, and I have actually encouraged clients for the last decade to allow for telephonic appearances. So for the courts to now have, it's called Blue Jeans, where you appear by video,
Court call, Zoom, WebEx,
Yeah, right.
Microsoft Teams. Every court now has one of those options available, if not several.
And it can save clients thousands of dollars a month because I can sit at my desk, be appearing, not be charging the client while I'm working on another matter while I'm waiting. The efficiency is incredible, but it truly does result in a major cost savings to clients, which I think is really interesting on how I think that clients should start asking their attorneys, well, how do you handle that? Because attorneys, when we created Revolve, I didn't want the billable hour, focus on the billable hour. You have to get this done. I want your heart to be in it and to do the work that you're passionate about. But other law firms have billable hour requirements. So I'm curious, all of that money that's generated by going to court, how is that going to be made up for on the client's files? So I think that clients should be really having
That's
conversations about how they're billed.
I was wondering is it eliminating or any bottleneck in the court systems and trials? Is it allowed for a bigger pathway that people don't have to be in court? Or are you finding the same, there's still a backlog to get cases heard?
I think that the issue of COVID and going to remote dispute resolution has definitely forced attorneys to start considering these alternative means of dispute resolution because they know the backlog in court. My case is not going to be set for trial maybe a year and a half longer than it would have been otherwise. And so it is forcing arbitration and mediation to get disputes resolved faster. And we can get on Zoom mediation and arbitration really fast. Some of being a lawyer, I think, is, unethical attorneys who are doing money grabs. Lawyers can make a lot of money by these other things than practicing law. And I think that with the efficiency of remote opportunities, you're cutting down on that. I mean, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think initially the courts were closed altogether, and that definitely created a backlog. Yeah. Like, for example, if I were to file a new lawsuit today, I would not get a trial date for 2 years.
So we're still experiencing the backlog from the closure.
Absolutely.
Which was about a year, wasn't it? Where courts closed roughly a year-ish?
A year and a half ago.
Yeah.
They started to close. A little over a year ago.
Yeah.
But that did create a really big backlog. But again, as Kimberly said, there were so many opportunities now for people to appear virtually and alternative means, mediation, arbitration, dispute resolution online offered through courts. So I feel like the pool and accessibility became larger, but also the backlog became a little bit longer than usual.
Okay, so longer. I would have thought the opposite. I thought with the ability and the availability of not having to travel, you have more time. So with more time, we can get more cases. But the backlog still, I guess, resides at the court level.
We still
right?
rely on the clerks to file documents.
Yeah.
And they're still filing documents and trying to pick up from when they had the closures.
Okay.
But a lot of clerks and employees of the court did leave. So there's not enough bodies and not enough people working to process, new cases. And a lot of judges have retired because of COVID. It forced some people into an early retirement.
Well, and I think it was something that we as attorneys need to focus on is that should be an impediment to us. So when we get cases or when I get a case, because I still do litigation, Sara and I have a lot of crossover in the litigation and we'll handle litigation together. But I've always been a proponent of we do not need to fight. I have been practicing for over a decade. I've done one trial because my devotion to dispute resolution and not litigation is my guiding focus. Why are we in court? I need to take a step back and look at my client's case and say, what's in the best interest of all parties? Not even just my client, but what is, again, the holistic approach to, getting this resolved? And unfortunately, I think that lawyers have been socialized to just fight. But COVID and this closure and the being dissuaded from filing a lawsuit in order to get to a trial should, I don't know if it's happening, but it should make us lawyers take a second look at how we do our jobs to say, what am I doing and why?
Yeah.
Trials shouldn't matter because we should not be litigating every single case.
Right.
Yeah, litigation is a very inefficient way of dealing with a problem.
And expensive.
It's very expensive for everyone involved and especially the client. So I'm a huge proponent of dispute resolution as well, and I've only done one trial also in my 10-plus year career because I'm a huge fan of let's work this out. Let's settle this without the need to go to a trial and engage in extensive discovery and depositions.
Which is why I think that individuals or corporations, entities, what have you, hiring an attorney, you should get to know who your attorney is. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why when we decided to get a website for Revolve, what you don't see on our website is, a long bio, all these accolades.
I was looking for your long bios.
Yeah.
All of our awards, all of our recognition.
Are you a super lawyer? Like all of that. I don't mean to, disrespect attorneys who put value in that, but I always, originally when Jessica and I got together and started brainstorming what Revolve was, I said, we all went to law school. We arguably all have access to the research database. We've learned how to, do our jobs, but that doesn't tell you who we are. I want to put who we are at the forefront of Revolve. And that's why you see, the principles and values, civility, determination, curiosity, laughter, humor, I think we say.
Right.
We need to, and I say we, because I would do this if I was hiring an attorney, but get to know who that person is on a principles and values basis, because that's going to tell you how they run your case. Mm-hmm. That's going to tell you if they are focused on the billable hour, how they're going to resolve it, how long it's going to take to resolve. All of that is so important. But I feel like people are choosing their lawyers based on this fabricated, bio. Show me who you are.
Yeah, interesting. So that kind of rolls into this. So your name, your approach, your holistic approach that we've talked about. So what do you view as the next level of in-demand services that either you will be providing or that law firms should be looking at?
Yeah, so it goes hand in hand with that holistic approach where we look to anticipate a client's needs, in all aspects. And so if, it's a real estate transaction that they need help with, and then later there's tax implications around that or something else down the road. And it's really getting to know what their goals are. And there's an emotional component to that as well, too, right? I mean, selling a business or being under audit by IRS, these are all big emotional.
Being a defendant in a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Exactly. Stressful
That's
situations.
not stressful, really, at all.
Just a little bit.
I don't recommend it for anybody.
No, not ideal. But so we seek to come in, look at what all those needs are, and really understand and empathize and see what that client's looking for, what their goals are, so that we can provide the best possible solution.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what are some of the most tried misconceptions of lawyers and law firms? And then how do you guys either fit in or do not fit in? Don't answer all at once.
I was looking at me like she's. I feel like it's the unapproachable, walled fighter. My biggest pet peeve is when I hear somebody say, "Oh, you're a lawyer because you probably like to fight, or you're really good at fighting." That irritates the shit out of me. Because it tells me that lawyers are being socialized to fight.
Yes.
And we, the three of us, are focused on resolving the issue. It might come down to determination.
Yeah.
We're going to dig into the details, as our website says, but we're not trying to fight. When I'm in a fight with opposing counsel, I'm actually trying to get that person to be reasonable. I don't want to have to go to court and ask for a reasonable extension. I want everybody to think, again, holistically, and what's the bigger picture here that's going to work for all of us. So for me, it's the idea of the fight. Now, you piss me off and you act unethically, I will tear you down because I'm a principled person who believes in the rules of professional conduct and the ethical, oath that we all took as attorneys. But I don't like to fight. That would be mine. What about yours?
Yeah, I would say, because I grew up with that too, like, oh, you love to argue. You're going to be a great attorney one day. And I look at it as, well, no, I'm not arguing. I'm trying to analyze the issue.
You're
right?
reasoning.
Yes, I'm reasoning. And I think that us as an all-women firm, I think we approach things a little bit differently. We look to understand. And so it's a little bit different from how a lot of other firms might approach it. And I came up in the Big Four accounting world where it was, a bunch of older guys in suits, and that's definitely not us. But
yeah, we're not your father's law firm for sure.
All right, so I'm going to ask this, and we might have to edit it out. But would you hire a guy?
Yeah.
My paralegal's male.
Okay.
We absolutely would hire. For us, it's about accessing feminine energy, right? The balance of male and female energy. The practice of law has been dominated by masculine energy, which is the do, the fight, I'm focused so hard on winning that I'm forgetting the humanity or the helping of people. So we're just injecting the feminine energy into the practice of law and having that be what guides us. That doesn't mean that if an extraordinary male comes to us and says, I agree with the principles and values that you adhere to in your practice, all damn day.
It'd be like an all-girl band, though, bringing in like a male drummer. I don't know. I don't know if that works.
I mean, we're not opposed to breaking up the band.
Yeah.
We're not opposed to bringing in masculine energy because
Right.
that's a good balance to our feminine energies.
Yeah.
I think that women attorneys have a different approach because of the empathy that we bring to every situation.
Passion.
The compassion, the empathy, putting yourself in the client's shoes and not just choosing to fight for the sake of fighting, but to be solution oriented. Understand, how did we get here? What is your goal? What are the different solutions that we can propose to, fix the situation?
Right. And sometimes it's out of the box. I mean, I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I have settled a case and I've backed away saying, I can't believe that just settled. And when somebody says, well, how did you get it settled? I said, it wasn't based on law. It was based on psychology.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I use psychology more in the practice of law than I do actual case law. Because I have to get to know, what does my client need? What is opposing counsel battling with? I mean, there are times where I'm talking to opposing counsel about, how you need to manage your client in order to get this resolved because you are not facilitating a resolution here.
Right.
So
So just so you all know, I don't know if you saw me laughing when you were talking about the feminine and the understanding.
energies.
Yeah. So it's not all female attorneys. So my ex-wife's female attorney was not very emotional or embracing.
So I have a theory on that because I remember being a very brand new attorney in a continuing legal education class. So I'm surrounded by attorneys and I'm looking around and I was, dressed, pink blouse. I had, just very feminine.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around at all these, seasoned attorneys, females, and no makeup, hair pulled back, gray suit. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this what my future is? Am I going to assimilate to like being an android and losing all femininity? Because what happens is, who are we mostly competing against? It's men.
Yeah.
I've had 2, maybe 3 opposing counsels that are women in over a decade. So what happens is we absorb that energy and we start acting in the masculine way. And I think that that's what we just get
for
socialized.
sure. This one, we'll talk off camera.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Now's the time. I need a good, juicy case.
Oh my God.
I don't care which field, just juicy.
I mean,
One.
Oh, no, I'll take 2.
I had a client whose story ended up on Dateline.
This is a good one already.
yes. One of my favorite shows.
Yeah, I represent. This was 5-6 years ago. A young, sweet girl had come to my office and needed help to unwind a condominium that her and her ex-fiance had purchased together. So, this happens frequently. I see it a lot in Orange County in Southern California. People who are not married, they buy a house together and then they break up. And they have nothing in writing and they don't anticipate ever breaking up. And then they hire me to unwind the whole process. So somehow that case turned into my client getting arrested, wrongfully being imprisoned in Orange County Women's Prison, and then, being exonerated by the district attorney and then telling her story on national news across the country on different national networks. So
What was the
Yeah,
story?
what was the story?
You can't leave
Well,
us hanging. What you put in jail for?
So her ex-fiance worked in the legal system as a U.S. Marshal. And he was very connected and dialed in to law enforcement, judges, courts. And he had friends in the Anaheim Police Department who he was able to convince that my client was violating a restraining order, which he wrongfully brought against her, and I represented her in that. And we came to an agreement that she would not contact him and stay away from him. And she did not contact him, and she did not go near him. But he had created fake email accounts impersonating my client. And he was putting ads on Craigslist asking for people to show up who wanted to participate in a rape fantasy
Oh my gosh.
at the condominium that my client and her ex-fiance owned together. And somehow the ex-fiance was able to convince the police officers at Anaheim Police Department, that my client was violating the restraining order by asking people to show up to the condo and so on and so forth. And she was arrested, and she was wrongfully imprisoned for months.
Wow.
And I, at that point, knew with 100% certainty that she was not behind these emails, that she was not contacting him, that she was not threatening him, she was not posting these ads, but I couldn't prove it. And it became a criminal matter at that point, and I had to pass it off to a criminal defense attorney. But months later, she was exonerated by the Orange County District Attorney at that time, Rackauckus, and she was unbelievably traumatized.
I would be.
Rightfully
PTSD,
so.
right?
Major PTSD, was absolutely, her whole world had turned upside down. So she moved to New York and started her life entirely over. She hired a victims' rights attorney who is a superstar in Brooklyn, and she sued the Anaheim Police Department and got a very fair settlement.
How about the ex-fiance?
Right.
Fiance, did
He was recently just indicted
Oh, wow.
for what would false accusations or
for
fraud?
cyber crimes, impersonation. But originally, his ex-girlfriend took the fall for the whole situation. But I knew in my heart of hearts that it was him who was writing the emails and creating the fake email accounts and making the threats, but I couldn't prove it. And so his ex-girlfriend took the fall and went to prison for a couple years. But just recently, this year in 2021, he was indicted.
Wow.
And this story became a national sensation. I had, media people calling me, contacting me, asking me for comments, and I didn't talk to any media because it wasn't appropriate at that time. But it ended up on Dateline, and I'm a huge Dateline fan. Every Friday night, that's my
gonna go home and Google
activity. So I was watching Dateline one night, and her
Wine
story,
Dateline.
and her
like a perfect
story
night.
came up on Dateline, and I saw the settlement agreement that I had prepared, and that she'd entered into, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's my settlement agreement.
Good for you. Good
But
job.
yeah, that was the craziest story I've ever been a part of, and it was
That's pretty crazy.
absolutely shocking, and a prime example of
Yeah.
how corruption in our legal system is more rampant than we can imagine.
Wow.
Well, we really can't top that
Ladies,
story.
I mean, that's a
no.
very high bar.
Well, I feel like you should.
You got
My
something.
favorite story that you tell about the client who had the huge IRS bill.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, okay.
My favorite.
Yeah. So one of my small business clients, under audit with IRS, and they were extending it from 3 years to 4. And he legitimately had a crazy auditor. And you hear these crazy IRS auditor stories. But this woman is starting to talk, just making accusations against the client's CPA, because the CPA was handling the audit at the time, and against my client, starting to talk criminal accusations and putting them down in really inappropriate ways. And it got out of hand. And they were trying to assess. They were adding on about $700,000 or $800,000 of additional income, and there was no substantiation for anything. So they brought me in. I'm talking to a different auditor who's trying to then lie about what the tax code says, about what's deductible and what's not. And at first I think she's kidding because some of the stuff is really basic. I'm like, wait, you're joking, right? Because we all know what the tax code there says. This is a deductible expense. But they tried to get away with it, so I filed a petition for tax court. And by the end of the audit, instead of owing anything extra, my client was owed an $8,000 refund. So,
And
Bravo.
so it went
Bravo.
from $800,000
Of
to
additional income to-
receiving $8,000 from the IRS. That's what I love about Jessica.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I've always said the smartest thing I ever did was going into business with a tax attorney.
Well,
We all
clearly,
need tax help.
yeah, clearly the balance of what you all do, I think you're pretty well protected for the rest of your lives. Okay, we've gone over it, but that's quite all right. This has been very enjoyable. But I do have a couple things left I still have to do, and that is to find out your ultimate lesson learned. That's our final thought question. So we can do each individually if you are okay with that.
Personal or a professional?
Doesn't matter. Ultimate lesson learned.
How about we do one of each?
Got it.
Okay.
Kimberly, do you want to go first?
You go first.
She's dying to go first.
No, I'm marinating in this. But the professional one for me would be to always remember that your opposing attorney could one day become a judge or justice, and you may appear in front of that individual one day who will be making the decisions.
Don't burn bridges. Is that sure?
Always be kind
Yeah.
with your opposing counsel.
Okay.
Ultimate personal, we say this a lot in the community that we spend a lot of time in, but we take what we do very seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. Always remember to laugh. Like, be silly. We're lawyers, we have to be serious constantly.
Yeah.
But like, just let go and be fun and just be pleasant. That would be my
Great. Good one. Jessica?
So professionally, I would say that when dealing with anybody, it can be a client's bad day or an IRS agent who usually they start off in a more of an attack mode, but you never know where they're coming from, what they're dealing with. They're
Personal
overworked.
problems they
yeah,
have.
Exactly. I had one IRS agent who, honestly, medically, she shouldn't have been working that day, and she was just in attack mode. And by the end of it,
Yeah.
we realized, okay, no, we can come to a resolution here. But so yeah, just considering where they're coming from and giving them grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then personally, I would say everything happens for a reason, even if we don't know what it is in that moment. There's a purpose for it, and we
One
just
of my favorites, by the way.
yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's one of my guiding
Good one.
positions.
Good one. And the other takeaway is kill them with kindness, right? That's great.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Sarah.
For professional lesson learned, honesty and integrity are everything. Like Kimberly said, you never know when somebody you go against is going to come up in your future. I don't believe in burning bridges. And I think that integrity is everything. If there's no integrity, there's no trust, there's no honesty, there's no transparency, then I don't want to be working with people or working with clients who don't have that basic honesty and level of integrity.
yes.
Because I think that too often lawyers get a bad rap for being self-serving, and I don't ever want to be looked upon in that way, because I take what I do seriously. Like Kimberly said, I take what I do seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. But I can say with certainty that people who have been my clients, they know that I will put them first. And I will approach them with empathy, approach their situation, their problem with empathy. So I think being empathetic on a personal level is huge.
All great lessons.
Simply don't lie. I mean, that's honestly what we see. Just don't lie.
Yeah.
Be honest, be
Nothing
transparent.
pisses me off more than
Yeah.
liars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I catch somebody in a lie, it brings me great pleasure to point it out.
She's got an edge.
You guys ever watch Damages?
Oh,
Love it.
Good, right?
Love it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the bar for
Have you seen The Honor, Your Honor,
Oh, I haven't seen that
or
yet.
Goliath?
boy. I tell you, that's my jam.
You were like a lawyer in a past life.
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
Goliath is coming back Friday.
Oh,
Season 4.
4. This
So
Friday.
excited.
First season was great.
The best.
The best.
Yeah.
Got a little
The best.
weird. And
After that, yeah.
But cool. Okay, even more important, guilty pleasures. Don't think too much.
I mean, I'm trying to pick one.
Junk food, shopping.
Okay, good.
Dark chocolate.
Cussing. How about that one?
Clearly.
Cussing.
Clearly. All right. So, great show. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you so much for
taking
having
the
us.
time.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. How can people reach you?
Well, you can go to our website, which is www.revolvelawgroup.com.
Okay.
You can find us on Instagram, Revolve Law Group. You can skywrite a love note, and over the cities of Mission Viejo, Eastside Costa Mesa, and Newport Beach, Corona Del Mar.
You can send us a postcard. You can send us a love letter. 2601 Main Street, Suite 1200, Irvine, California, 92614. We are open and available for, people who want to write us letters.
You guys are so witty. All right. Well, thanks again. It's been a real honor to have you on the show. I want to thank the people who have tuned in, and we look forward to being in the studio again next week. Cheers.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandbergen Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting podcast.bartzandbergen.com. The Zandbergen Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show, or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. The contents of this podcast episode do not constitute an offer of securities or a solicitation of an offer to buy securities, and may not be relied upon in making an investment decision related to any investment offering Access Wealth Management LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Access does not warrant the accuracy or completeness of the information contained herein. Opinions are our current opinions and are subject to change without notice. Prices, quotes, rates are subject to change without notice. Generally, investments are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, and may lose value. Brokerage services are offered through Tessera Capital, member FINRA.